There you go, little lady. Something artistically correct for the people to look at. Goldfish are considered to be one of the most abused pets. I would argue that perhaps that title goes to dogs because of their higher intellect as compared to a goldfish, but I'll touch on that a little bit later. Here's the question: do fish experience pain? There is some research to suggest that they can. The bulk of the research, however, seems to suggest that they can't. Researchers did an experiment and they shocked part of the tank. I assumed it was either a very mild shock or a very big tank, otherwise the experiment would have ended right then and there. Shortly after, the researchers injected chemicals into the fish's head, various different chemicals for different study groups, as researchers will often have different groups with which to test variables. The untreated fish avoided the area of the tank they got shocked in for about 3 days. Now, you could argue that perhaps this indicates their memory as a whole as opposed to the 3-second myth. However, not necessarily, as this could just be the runtime that their instincts is telling them to avoid a certain area of danger. Like when a heron shows up at a certain location at the pond, the fish will avoid that area so that they don't potentially get chomped. If we have to go off of the workings of the brain alone, it does seem that goldfish are not capable of experiencing pain the same way higher life forms would, such as dogs or humans. All things considered, the researchers do admit there could be some missing information. The natural world is extremely fascinating because you have animals that have much smaller brains than we do, like an African grey parrot, but they're able to exhibit feats of intelligence similar to that of a 4-year-old child. However, a lot of people fall into this trap where they project human equivalent thoughts, feelings, and emotions onto an animal. They don't understand that intelligence does not equate to perspective. Back when I used to work with behavioral issues in animals, a question that I would get asked: how do we know there isn't a human mind inside the head of an animal? Let's say there's a puppy and it's scared of thunder. Starts shivering and shaking. The first human inclination is to pick that puppy up and comfort it. Now, this would work and comfort a human child. However, in canine psychology, it gets rewarded for being scared. And if this behavior is reinforced enough, eventually this could result in a dog that once fireworks starts going off, it jumps through glass windows, which things like that can and has happened. Bringing me back to my point, why I'd say that perhaps dogs are more abused. Yes, people feed them. Many, though not enough people, take them for walks. But a lot of dogs don't get the mental and physical stimulation that they need. They get treated like people, and it results in a very unhappy dog at the end of the day, psychologically speaking. The very evidence that human psychology aggravates behavioral issues, but applying that animal's psychology alleviates behavioral issues, proves that there is not a person's mind inside the head of an animal, no matter the intelligence they have access to. To project human thoughts, feelings, and emotions onto an animal is what is known as anthropomorphism, and it always has been and always will be a scientific sin. Cows, which is another animal that militant animal rights activists often bring up, they don't live lives of existential dread of the day that they will reach burgerdom. They are capable of thinking to a certain extent, and they're even able to learn tricks. Higher intellect animals require mental stimulation, food aggression, jumping up and down on people. It's because the owners don't provide the dogs with the mental and physical stimulation that they need. Canine psychology for dogs, horse psychology for horses, parrot psychology for parrots. When you apply these things, that results in much happier pets. Let's say, hypothetically speaking, 100% goldfish are not capable of experiencing pain. Would that justify the abuse that they go through? There are some pretty horrendous videos online of people shoving goldfish into contraptions onto someone's head, buggering in cotton candy, taking goldfish out of the water and shoving their face into pellets. These insipid YouTube channels that bugger in toys, ducks, and fish into a single tank entertainment, obviously for children. Though personally, if I ever have kids, I would never show them this sort of content. Going off of my current knowledge and understanding of things, I think behavior such as this is destructive to ourselves. It's going to open up doors within our psychology that should not be opened. Eventually, the goldfish aren't going to give the kicks that they used to anymore. And then a person that engages in such behavior might upgrade towards dogs and cats. And where do you go from there when cats and dogs no longer give the sick kicks?